Suppose you are planning to visit Vietnam and you probably haven't been there yet, but heard many great stories about the country, but also about the girls, the Vietnamese girls. And you may be thinking of even hooking up with some bar girls, which there are many and plenty of in Vietnam. So if these are your plans, and these were also my plans when I actually was in Vietnam many years ago, then you should watch this video, because I will explain in this video a little bit about the Vietnamese bar girls. I will give you a little bit of context, background information, and also why you actually should not get involved with them. But anyway, at the end of this video you will come to your own conclusions, and it's all up to you what you are going to do in the future, right? So let me just give you a little bit of context information regarding prostitution in Vietnam. Prostitution in Vietnam is actually a big thing. That is because of income gaps. You know, there are very big income gaps in Vietnam. Also, there is sexism in this culture, in this society, and of course we have, or they have, very flexible law enforcement, if you know what I mean. Money talks. Prostitutes or hookers can easily be found online, of course, on the online dating sites, but also there is this messenger service. I don't know how, is it it's called Line, Line, and this service is similar to Facebook. Guys who live in Asia know what I'm talking about, and there you can connect with a lot of people, obviously, but also Line is very popular in Vietnam if you want to connect with these girls, these hookers, right? Thailand and Vietnam is frequented pretty badly with these girls. I mean, it depends from what kind of perspective you look at. If you're looking for these girls, then it's a good place to go and then check out these services, because they are full of these girls. Now, for Vietnamese men, the hookers, the prostitutes in Vietnam, they will present themselves also as prostitutes, because it's a straightforward thing in Vietnam. You know, if a Vietnamese man wants to hire a prostitute, he's hiring her, and the Vietnamese hooker will not make a big fuss out of it. It's a little bit different with foreigners, though, yeah, because of a different culture and different dynamics. A Vietnamese girl will not present herself to a foreigner as a hooker. No, she will present herself as a student, as a makeup artist, as an, I don't know what, something, yeah, just to pretend. She will never tell you that she is a prostitute. But of course you can recognize if she is a prostitute, and I will go into this a little bit later. Vietnamese people, local folks, they know what a prostitute looks like. They can recognize her easily. Also, Vietnamese men, they would never ever actually date or even marry a prostitute in Vietnam. This is an absolute no-go. And what I find is actually pretty interesting is that Western men, or we foreigners, or a lot of Western men who travel to Southeast Asia actually think, and this is not only applying to Vietnam but also heavily applies to the Philippines and Thailand. Western men tend to think that prostitution is just a job. Yeah, it is the job, a job the girl is taking, and but it's not defining her person, and therefore you can date and even marry them. And this is really, really true. And I have to be honest, I was in the same line of thinking before. Yeah, maybe that has something to do with our Western culture and how prostitution is looked at in our Western culture in the Western countries. Because prostitution in Germany, for example, is widely accepted. It's even considered a professional. It's a profession, and these ladies and girls, they even have to pay taxes and stuff. So prostitution in Asia is a little bit different. So, and of course, I mean, this is really important actually. If you come to Asia and think, this poor girl, she has no choice other than support her family, and she's taking up this hooker job now, but actually she is a good girl, then everything will work out well. But mostly that's not the case. Maybe it's not just that she's taking up the job as a hooker. Maybe it is really different, and the job which she is doing is really defining her person and personality. This is something to think about. So now, what about the hookers? What about the women? What about the girls, the bar girls and the prostitutes? Now, here's something you will learn about these women in Vietnam. Almost all of them, they come from a rural area, from the province. Mostly they are very poor. Yeah, they stopped their education early, probably for financial reasons. Also, many of them, they got pregnant very early, they have kids, they were involved in a relationship or even a marriage. Yeah. And these ladies, these girls, they are basically forced to work off the debt which was run up by her family. We are talking about numbers between 10,000 US dollars and 50,000 US dollars. This is what we can assume is the amount of debt this family, or then the girl, has to pay off or work to pay off. Because 10k to 50k US dollar is normally the amount of money what the Vietnamese mafia is willing to lend to these families. Also, the Vietnamese family who borrowed that money from these loan sharks is under threat of death if she ever talks about that to other people. This is really a serious thing. So how did they run up the debt? Interesting question, right? Yeah. Let's go here. I'm actually walking through my neighborhood here in the morning, so you can see how it looks like here in northern Thailand. So how do they run up this debt? Yeah, like other people do in other countries. Failed businesses, they have farm expenses, medical bills, and gambling. And we talked about this in other videos already, that gambling is very, very popular, especially among Vietnamese men. And yeah, this is the reason for the death. And you have to understand, it's not the girl's death. The girl, which later works as a prostitute, has nothing to do with it actually. Yeah, she is not responsible for running up this debt. It's not her debt. But the problem is in Vietnam, when you run up debt, when you get into debt, let's say you are a Vietnamese man and you lose a lot of money with gambling and you sign a loan contract, yeah, your relatives and also your significant others, they are basically co-signers. Yeah, so they are also basically responsible to pay back this debt. It's actually a very bad situation for this, because the whole family, the entire family is drawn into this mess. Yeah. So now the mafia knows that, and the mafia also knows, of course, if there is a young girl in the family or a younger woman, then for them this is their collateral. This is how they get their money back. They know this girl or this woman will eventually end up in one of the bars and earn the money, which is going to be paid back to the mafia, to the loan sharks. Many of these girls are also on heroin and crystal meth, unfortunately. And you know, if you are a drug addict, then you know what people can be capable of doing. I mean, we always hear these stories, right? There's also always a pimp involved in Vietnam. Yeah? There's nothing like a independent prostitute. There's nothing like a female pimp. There's always a male pimp involved. This is mostly either her husband, I don't know, uncle, or even the boyfriend. It's crazy. Yeah. So how do you recognize these girls? I made a video about this. It's called "Are You Dating a Hooker?" I released it a few weeks ago. You might want to check out this video to learn about how you actually can recognize the hooker. Yeah, and by the way, before I forget to mention this, fathers, husbands, boyfriends, these are the guys who are actually running up the debt, mostly, also especially with gambling. And then their own daughter or their own girlfriend needs to work as a prostitute. It's crazy when you think about it, right? So this is something we probably don't really, or will never really understand, how these Asian family dynamics are. But I can imagine that, you know, even in Thailand, it is very hard to wrap our mind around this, because in our culture it works a little bit different, right? But I can imagine, for example, also in Thailand, you know, these girls who are coming from Isan, the northeastern province, the very poor province, might be okay for the family, and when the mother decides, or the father, that her 18-year-old daughter now needs to go to Phuket or to Pattaya and earn money, then she needs to do it, because the family is number one. And the hierarchy in Asian families is a different story than in Western families. Yeah? This is what we cannot comprehend as Westerners anymore. It used to be like that maybe 100 years ago also in our countries, but nowadays it almost completely vanished. But in Asian families, the parents, they have the say, and you cannot just simply lean up against that. And if the parents decide you do this, then you do that, because you also know actually it's for the good of the family. And let's go here. It's for the good of the family, because they need money. They need money, you know. They have debt. They need money. They need money to survive. So, in that kind of situation, people are desperate, right? So, and this is probably the same dynamic in Vietnam. It's crazy actually to think that that your own boyfriend is sending you to earn money as a prostitute. But never mind. Let's continue. Yeah, how do you recognize these girls? Yeah, I talked about this in previous videos. So if they have tattoos, definitely you can assume she is a prostitute 100%. If she smokes cigarettes, if she drinks, if you go to any bar in Vietnam and you see a woman which is alone in there and which is pretty attractive, then you can almost assume she is a prostitute. She's a bargirl. Yeah? There's no such a thing like, in Vietnam, there's no such a thing like a girls' night out. Yeah? A girls' night out like in Western countries does not exist. If you see a bunch of girls in Vietnam in a bar, then you can assume there are hookers. Okay. Of course, they speak better English. And when we talk about Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City, there's this famous backpacker area. I forgot the name, but there are a lot of bars and clubs and stuff, and a lot of bar girls. And many backpackers actually go there, have a lot of fun. It's very famous. But all the girls there are prostitutes, hookers, bar girls. A Vietnamese girl, you have to know, a normal, regular Vietnamese girl will never go out alone. Yeah, she will almost always have a male acquaintance with her, an escort, you know, be it the boyfriend, the husband, or whatever. Yeah. And especially Saigon girls know that they would never ever go alone into this backpacker area, because people would think that she is a hooker. Yeah, if any normal regular woman in Saigon would go to this backpacker area to have some fun and enjoy, then she would always go with her male friend, boyfriend, or whatever. Just for you to know, it's actually interesting. Also, when you meet a woman in Vietnam and she's telling you she's been to Singapore and Malaysia or Taiwan, and she spent a significant amount of time there, then let's say a few months for no specific reason, then you can almost assume that she's also a hooker sent by her pimps over to earn money, because the demand for Vietnamese women is very high in these countries. I can confirm this. I worked in Malaysia, I've been many times to Singapore, and you have a lot, it used to be at least up until recently, I don't know now, but there was a huge supply of Vietnamese women in Malaysia, in Singapore. And in Malaysia, we are not talking only about Kuala Lumpur, we are talking also about other smaller cities in Malaysia. And most of these hookers there are exclusively from Vietnam. Yeah. Now, I want to share something with you regarding the price and money here. Yeah. What does a hooker cost in Vietnam? Yeah, average, let's say $100 or 2.3 million Vietnamese dong. This is what you get for 1 hour of fun or something like that. Of course, prices can vary depending on the looks of the girl, like in any other country. If you really want a number 10, then you pay maybe double, I don't know. But no, let's consider this. You might say, okay, hey, $100, that's actually cheap, you know, compared to prices in Europe or America, you know. Yeah, but you also have to understand that $100 converted into Vietnamese currency is a lot of money. You know, the average salary in Vietnam is maybe still today 250 to 350 US dollar per month, depending on your job. The average salary is that. So let's say an average office worker, or what, I don't know, a waitress earns $250 per month. This is what a waitress maybe earns in Europe or in America. She earns $2,500 per month, so 10 times that amount. So now if you spend $100 on a hooker in Vietnam, that's the same like you would spend $1,000 in America on a hooker. Would you do this? I don't think so. Do the math. The same if you want to impress girls with money, which you actually can do. I will talk about this in a second. But let's say you want to give $100 as a gift. This is like as you would give $1,000, $1,000 or euros to a European or American lady. Would you really do this? Have you ever done this? You also have to think about it. I mean, I'm from Germany. I don't remember that I ever gave money to a regular girl which I dated. For what? I mean, of course, we can assume our motivations, you know, we give something, we want something, you know, we hope to get something back. But in Germany or in America, we would never do it. Huh? We would never say, okay, here, baby, you have $200. Oh, why you give me the $200? No, just like that, you know, I have a good day today. I just want to, you know, help you a little bit. And you give her the money without expect nothing in return? Are you serious? Come on. But in Asia, we do it. The men do it, right? They expect something in return. This is the thinking. But in Vietnam, let me show you, it's a little bit a different thing. And actually in Vietnam, you can give away money. This is a cultural thing. This is very, very similar to China, you know, where you can use these red envelopes and you put some money inside, especially during Chinese New Year. This is a highly common tradition that small amounts of money are being distributed in these small red envelopes. In Hong Kong they call it Lai Si. I think in Indonesia and Malaysia they call it Ang Pao, and in Vietnam they call it Li Si. And this is very common, even on birthdays, on Christmas, on other occasions where people celebrate. You put some cash into a small red envelope and then you give it away. That's totally common. I know in Western countries, no, we don't give cash straight to other people. Let's say on a birthday we would give a voucher or something like that, you know, which is similar. But in Vietnam it's very common. It's nothing wrong, you know. So you use that strategy, and if you really want to support and help her, or if you have some intentions, then why don't give some money away? Yeah, put it in a red envelope, for example, and give it to her. But you have to make it very, very clear to that girl that you do not expect anything in return. Yeah, of course. Yeah? And this is just for her, and she can take it and she can leave. But what will happen when you do this? Most likely the girl will she will really start liking you, of course, you know, because where there's smoke there's fire. And if you give her a red envelope with some cash inside, which is again totally common in Vietnam, with no bad intentions, and you also let her know that you have no other expectations or bad intentions behind this act of giving her money, you know, then she will start to like you very much, very likely. Yeah, so get ready that you get text messages and stuff from her, because what she thinks is like, oh, this guy is awesome, he cares for me, he just gave me 2 weeks salary. Yeah? A normal regular Vietnamese girl actually would show this kind of reaction. Yeah? She is enchanted and entranced with you. A hooker, a prostitute, would not be so amazed about this amount of money, because she can earn this in 10 minutes moaning a little bit around. Or if you really meet a very, very rich Vietnamese lady, then yeah, of course, what is $100 for her? Nothing, right? Yeah, so that's the story with why you should avoid prostitutes in Vietnam. And fun fact on the side, when Vietnamese men actually visit prostitutes in Vietnam, it's more commonly accepted than in our countries. It's something like, you know, men are peeing and not sitting down. You know, this is something men just do, you know, and Vietnamese women know that. So if a Vietnamese man really has the urge to go to a prostitute and uses a condom, he is almost looked at like a nice guy, you know, like a responsible guy. Vietnamese women know that their husbands might go to prostitutes, but they just close one eye. It's not such a big drama like in our countries. This is also a very interesting dynamic actually, you know. Anyway, long story short, or short story long, what's the moral of the story? I gave you some information, some context now about this prostitution thing in Vietnam and why you should actually not get involved with these ladies. And I can tell you from my own experience, because I, of course, got involved with these ladies. It's boring, it's mechanical. If you want a really good experience, a really nice experience, then I always suggest to go to the Philippines. Go to the Philippines. Maybe you go to Indonesia. Forget about Vietnam. The bargirls in Vietnam, they suck. These girls, they are just after your money, and they do the bare minimum, and that's it. You will see. If you don't believe me, try it out. You can do. Anyway, you can do what you want. Maybe you try it out. You know, it's better. Trial and error. It's a waste of money, I can tell you. Don't do it. The same in Thailand. In my opinion, the Thai bar girls, they are, they suck also. You know, nothing special, to be honest. But if you want to have some fun, go ahead, try it out. But please do not expect too much, and better don't get involved. Be smart. Try to use your judgment and your discernment, and you can wow a regular Vietnamese lady with probably way less money, and you avoid also a lot of trouble, because I just told you in this video what you have to pay attention to, where these hookers are coming from mostly, what's their background. They are in a very bad situation. They are really in dire straits, and you don't want to get involved in this kind of mess. So with that being said, I'm checking out for today. Thanks for watching. Let me know your comments, and yeah, take care. Bye bye.